This is Cast of Wonders, the young adult fiction podcast featuring stories of the fantastic. Welcome. Episode 669. I'm Catherine Inskip, your editor and host. Our story for today is The Cat That Went to Uranus by Dan Peacock, a Cast of Wonders original. Dan Peacock is a sci-fi and fantasy writer from the UK. His short stories have been published in Fantasy and Science Fiction, Cast of Wonders and Little Blue Marble, among others. You can find links to all his published stories at danpeacockwriter.com. He lives with his partner and daughter, along with a little black cat who is, for now, confined to planet Earth. Dan is also the co-author of The Cat That Worked From Home, alongside his daughter Rachel. This story is narrated by Rish Outfield. Rish Outfield produced the Dune Steve podcast with Big Anklevich, and you can hear him pretty much everywhere in the genre story podosphere. Not much can be said about Mr. Outfield that hasn't been said by the average parent to scare their children into behaving, into going to sleep, or keeping their mouths shut about what they saw take place in the woodshed. You can find him online. This story comes with a content note for allergies. And now, we've a tale to tell.
The Cat That Went to Uranus by Dan Peacock, narrated by Rish Outfield. The ship was barely 1,000,000 kilometers away from Earth when Commander Fowler heard a meow. He stopped what he was doing and frowned. Spaceships did not normally meow. They'd been rocketing away from Earth for the best part of a week, and it hadn't happened once. He wandered through into the main living room of the spaceship, where he found his crewmate, Monroe, reading the First Contact manual. Monroe had his feet up on the table. One of them was tapping at a frantic pace. "Did you hear that?" Fowler said. "I thought I heard a meow." "Me too," Monroe said, turning a page. "Did you hear where it came from? It sounded like it came from in here." "Yeah, it was the cat." "What cat?" Fowler said. Monroe put his book down to reveal a small black cat sitting in his lap. It looked at Fowler and blinked slowly. Fowler frowned. "There isn't meant to be a cat on board." There definitely wasn't meant to be a cat on board. Mission Control had carefully selected Fowler and Monroe for the mission to Uranus. After 1,000 candidates had applied for the voyage, he would have definitely remembered if there had been a third crewmate, especially if they were so small and furry, with a yellow collar and little beans for toes. "Well, I thought it was your cat," Monroe said. "No," Fowler said. "No, it's not." "Meow," said the cat. Monroe gave the little black cat a scrub behind the ears. "Well, it isn't mine. You better call Mission Control and see what they say." He picked up his book and his foot started tapping again. Fowler went up to the cockpit and sat down, pulled on his headset, and called Mission Control back down on Earth. It was just past lunchtime, and Fowler's stomach grumbled. The ration packs they had to eat on the ship were filling, but nowhere near as good as the meals in the Mission Control cafeteria. Down on Earth, it was Taco Tuesday. It was a few seconds before the call connected. "Mission Control, Director Garvey speaking," the voice said. "Commander Fowler, it's a little early for your daily report." Fowler thought he heard the director chewing. "I'm sorry to disturb you, sir. We may have a situation." "Ahem. A situation? Is everything all right?" "Yes, sir. The mission isn't in any immediate danger, but we found a cat on board." "Say again, Commander. I thought you said you'd found a cat on board." "We have found a cat on board, sir," Fowler said. "Can you describe it?" the director said. "I'm not sure," Fowler said. "It's cat-shaped, and makes noises like a cat. It's got black fur and a little yellow collar." "I don't believe it," the director said. "I know, sir," Commander Fowler said. "Of course, this does represent a risk for the mission. There is only enough food on board for myself and Captain Monroe for the mission to Uranus, and another life form gobbling away at the supplies might mean we run out and, well, starve. It's going to take us several months to get there and several to get back, once we've completed the mission. We don't have a litter tray or anything. It might start to get unhygienic. Request permission to jettison the cat out into space, sir." "No," the director said, and Fowler thought he heard anger in his voice. "Sir, the risk to the mission is—" "That's my cat," the director growled. Fowler was silent for a moment. The little black cat had wandered through and rubbed up against his leg, purring. "I don't understand, sir," Fowler said. "I brought little Scoopy in to work with me on the day of the big launch," the director said. "But she loves watching sci-fi shows with me on the TV, so I thought it'd be right up her alley. But just before the ship took off, I turned around and she was gone. Well, I thought she'd run off somewhere. But she must have snuck aboard." "So you're telling me we can't jettison the cat?" "You jettison Scoopy and I'll get Monroe to jettison you," the director snarled. "Meow," said Scoopy. "Is that her?" said the director. "Oh, put her on. I want to speak with her." "What, Fowler stuttered. The little black cat was looking up at him, its tongue sticking out slightly. He pulled off the headset and placed it gently on the floor next to the cat. He got up and walked back into the ship's living area. "What did they say?" Monroe said, not looking up from his book. "It's Director Garvey's cat." "Right." "And he won't let me jettison it," Fowler said unhappily. "You always want to jettison things." "Why do not?" "You do," Monroe said. "After I beat you at cards on the first night, you tried to jettison the cards." "Meow," said the cat. It had come back through from the cockpit, presumably having finished its call with the director. "Well," Monroe said, putting his book down and crouching next to the cat. "You must be hungry, little lady. What's your name?" He tilted the cat's collar towards the light. "Scoopy," he read. "No," Scoopy said. "You think she'd like the ration packs? There's some tuna-flavored ones I was saving for when we'd passed Mars." Fowler put his head in his hands. "If you give her any of the food, there won't be enough for us. We can't exactly pop to the shops to get more. What we have on the ship has to last until Uranus, and all the way home again." "We'll worry about that later," Monroe said, walking away towards the kitchen and clicking his fingers for the cat to follow. She trotted after him. "That's what I'm saying," Fowler said. "We will have to worry about it later." "Exactly." Fowler gave up. Mission Control had supposedly selected Monroe and Fowler as being perfectly compatible for the long mission between Earth and Uranus. Fowler wasn't quite sure what had happened, though, because he found the other man incredibly annoying. The cat started to purr as Monroe scooped some of the tuna-flavored rations onto a plate and set it down on the floor. She buried her face in the food. "Where do you think she's been this whole time?" Monroe said. "We've been away from Earth for a week. She must have been somewhere." "And what has she been eating?" Fowler added. Monroe looked thoughtful. "Cats normally hide in little nooks and crannies when they move house, till they feel confident enough to explore. I bet that's it. She's been hiding somewhere. Poor thing must be absolutely famished." Scoopy had already finished the food and looked back up at them expectantly. A little fleck of tuna ration was stuck to one whisker. "Meow," she said. "Aw, look at her," said Monroe. "Let's give her some more." "Did you not hear anything I said?" Fowler was getting frustrated. "We will run out of rations. You can't just give her food every time she looks at you. You know how important this mission is. If she's going to stay, we'll need to severely ration the food. For all three of us. But look at her. Fowler looked at her. The little black cat looked back. Fine. Give her the tuna, he muttered. Just this one time. You're right, she's probably starving. See? Monroe said to the cat as he spooned another ration pack onto the plate. Daddy does like you. I am not Daddy. Yes, you are. No. Look. I'm going for a lie down. Don't give the cat any more food. Fowler stormed out of the kitchen, back through the living room and into his home pod. Above his bunk, there was a tiny window that provided a clear view of the stars. Mars was still too distant to make out. It was just one point of light among many. Commander Fowler had been as excited as anyone when NASA had announced the news several years ago. An amazing discovery. An abandoned spaceship, presumably alien in origin, in orbit around the planet Uranus. From what they could tell, it was empty. But who knew what secrets lay inside? He'd been beyond honored to be chosen as one of the 2 people on the crew that would make first contact with a piece of alien technology. Surely his name would go down in history among the great pioneers of space exploration. Yuri Gagarin, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Lawrence Fowler, James Monroe, and Scoopy. Captain Monroe had managed to prevent Commander Fowler from blasting the cat out into space for as long as he could. In the first few weeks since Scoopy's appearance, he kept finding the cat in the airlock, with the commander suspiciously close to the controls that would open the outside hatch and fire her out into the void. The little black cat sat in the airlock, licking herself, while the 2 astronauts argued on the other side of the door. I'm sick of having to ration our portions for the sake of this stowaway, Fowler moaned. You're giving her too much food. Look how fat she is. She is not fat. She is. She wobbles when you stroke her. Monroe shook his head. Well, the rations are very calorie-dense. I can't help that. And she can't exactly get much exercise in here. That was true. Scoopy didn't have access to a nice garden or quiet neighborhood to explore and let off steam, so she got bored easily. Sometimes, when her energy levels built up, she would zoom around the tiny rooms of the spacecraft, banging into the walls and knocking over whatever Fowler was doing. You are not jettisoning her, and that's final, Monroe said. Fine, Fowler muttered, and that had been that. Monroe hadn't found the cat in the airlock since, although sometimes she meowed and scratched at the door, angry that there was a room she was no longer allowed in. Back on Earth, news of the stowaway cat had spread. Monroe had made her little spacesuit helmet using the ship's 3D printer, and sent the pictures back to Mission Control, where they had soon gone viral. There were Scoopy t-shirts, Scoopy enamel pins, Scoopy figurines, reusable Scoopy water bottles, and all other varieties of Scoopy merchandise. Netflix were already in talks to make an animated series of Scoopy the Astro Cat. Monroe took great pleasure in pointing out to Fowler that the little black cat was trending on social media far more than the 2 of them put together. He enjoyed the way it made Fowler squirm. The weeks went by. They passed Mars, then went through the asteroid belt. Monroe knew that the asteroid belt wasn't like it was always depicted in the movies, a tight cluster of floating rocks that a spacecraft would have to carefully weave through. The asteroids were so far apart, and space was so huge, that they didn't see a single one on their way past. Next was Jupiter, grand and colorful, and Saturn with its beautiful rings. Scoopy liked to look out of the window in the spaceship's living room, perhaps checking just in case any small birds were outside. The 2 astronauts joined her and stared in wonder as Saturn slid past and out of view. Slowly, gradually, they approached Uranus and prepared the ship for orbit. Scoopy was a natural in microgravity. Monroe added a lid and a door flap to her litter tray, which mostly kept the soiled pieces of the shredded First Contact manual contained. The dead alien spacecraft that they had been sent to investigate was the size of a stadium, black and round and smooth. It looked like another one of the moons until they got closer and could make out more details. Windows, strange markings, and what looked like an entrance, a docking bay. Up in the cockpit, Fowler and Monroe made tiny adjustments and calculations as the ships came together. Their airlock slotted in place over the alien spaceship's docking bay. It wasn't a perfect match, but they had prepared for this, and a sealant was sprayed around the edges to make it airtight. Now that the ships were firmly connected, they would be able to cut into the other spacecraft, cross over, and see what lay inside. The two of them looked at each other and nodded. It was time to enter the alien ship. "You cannot be serious," Fowler said.
"I understand your concern," Monroe said. "But the sensors say the alien ship is still warm and pressurized, and Director Garvey signed off on this personally. Also, look how cute she is."
He held up Scoopy in the little spacesuit helmet that he had printed for her.
"I don't care what Mission Control said. This is our first contact with alien technology, possibly even alien life forms. It's an historic moment. We're not bringing the cat with us."
Monroe pouted.
"She's a superstar back on Earth. She has to come along. Public interest in the mission has never been higher."
Did they miss the part where we're about to enter an alien spacecraft? The cat is the part they're excited about?
"Meow," said Scoopy, muffled by the helmet. "Besides," Monroe added, "she's been cooped up in our tiny little ship for so long, she'll want to have a look around."
Just fine,
Fowler said.
"Keep a tight hold of her, okay?"
Inside the open airlock, Fowler picked up his tools and began cutting through the outer door of the alien craft. It took a while to carve through the thick layers of the strange material, and the cat began to get restless in Monroe's arms, wriggling to escape. Eventually, Fowler was through. He pushed his way in and stared into the darkness, his torch beam sweeping around the room. Monroe followed, but misjudged his momentum. He caught himself just in time, but Scoopy sprang free, launching herself into the shadows, excited to explore her new surroundings. They'd taken her bright yellow collar off weeks before, and her sleek black outline instantly disappeared in the darkness.
"I've lost the cat," Monroe said.
"You're kidding me," Fowler said. "The first words spoken by a human being inside an alien spacecraft are, 'I've lost the cat'? It's not exactly one small step for man now, is it?"
"I can't see her,"
Monroe cried. He fumbled the torch from his belt and waved it around wildly, before pursuing her into the darkness.
"Monroe, wait!"
Fowler shouted. But the other man was gone. He swung his torch around, trying to see where he had gone. He could hear a distant psst, 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 as Monroe called out for the cat, but couldn't figure out which direction it was coming from. Fowler looked around the room. The walls were covered in strange markings, the alien's language an unreadable mess of overlapping geometric shapes. Little lights blinked on and off in colors he couldn't quite describe. He swung his torch around, and there was an opening in the wall, tall and thin. He squeezed through and followed Monroe's trail. The alien ship was quiet, and he could hear Monroe calling out for the cat. There didn't seem to be anyone else on board. Had the ship already been abandoned? Fowler turned a corner and bumped into Monroe.
"There you are."
"Fowler,"
Monroe said.
"Look."
Fowler looked. The room they had entered was cavernous and dimly lit, and ahead of them was a long row of tall, eerie statues. Their limbs were spindly and ended in wide, flat attachments, like fleshy leaves instead of hands. Their tall faces were completely smooth, apart from 4 closed eyes arranged in a perfect square. Cables poured out of the various points in their arms, legs, and spine, connecting them to the walls of the ship. Fowler felt his stomach drop. They weren't statues. They were the crew of the alien ship. And they were sleeping. One of the aliens opened all 4 of its eyes and turned to look at them. Fowler slipped behind Monroe, pushing him forward slightly. More of the aliens had awoken and were staring at them. Some were pulling the thick wires out of their limbs and backs, and one or two moved forward.
"Oh my God," Monroe said.
Said the first alien.
"What did he say?" Monroe said. I can't understand his accent."
Tell him we come in peace,
Fowler said. Said the first alien.
"Yes,"
Monroe said to the alien.
What did you just agree to?
Fowler whispered.
"I don't know."
Meow.
The alien looked down. Scoopy floated in front of it, staring upwards. She looked back at the two astronauts for a second. Her pupils were enormous, like two great black moons. Her helmet had come off somewhere during the pursuit, and yet she seemed fine. The air inside the ship was clearly breathable. The alien bent down, looking closely at the strange little creature before it. More of the others slowly gathered around her. Scoopy purred and twisted in the air, showing her belly, happy with the attention she was getting.
"This is incredible,"
Monroe breathed. The first alien coughed. It wasn't quite a cough, more of a... But that was how it sounded to Fowler. Its hands came up to its chest, scratching at itself desperately. It fell backwards and twitched for a moment before it stopped moving completely and drifted aimlessly towards a wall. All around, the other aliens were coughing and clutching their chests. One by one, their eyes bulged and closed, and their limbs fell slack.
"Oh no," Monroe said. "Oh no."
"What?" Fowler said. "What is it? What the hell is going on?" Monroe grabbed Fowler's helmet with both hands.
"Don't you see?" he shouted. "They're allergic to cats."
The three of them were quiet as the ship separated, and Fowler set a return course for Earth. He had sealed the alien ship back up as they left, and it got smaller and smaller behind their ship until they could no longer make it out against the backdrop of space. "We'll tell them we didn't find anything," Fowler whispered. "It wasn't an alien spacecraft at all. It was just a big shiny asteroid that looked like an alien spacecraft, and there's definitely no need for anyone to go back and check. Definitely not."
"Are you crazy?" Monroe said. "This is still the most important discovery in the history of humankind. We messed up, sure, but..."
Fowler laughed. "I think we did a little more than mess up. We have no idea where they came from, why they were here, or why they were hibernating like that. What if their home planet was wiped out and they were the very last members of their species, waiting for a rescue that never came? What if they were explorers, just like us, and we've just accidentally started a galactic war by murdering the whole crew?"
"We didn't murder them,"
"No," said Scoopy. "I vote that we pretend none of this ever happened and hope that it all goes away somehow." "No." Fowler glared at the cat. "Will you please be quiet?"
"Don't shout at Scoopy."
"I will shout at her. She's in big, big trouble."
"She didn't mean to," Monroe said, picking her up and setting her down in his lap. The little black cat started kneading the fabric of his spacesuit. He smiled at Fowler. "Look at her. The poor thing is really shaken up. Could you go get some of the chicken rations?"
"No," said Fowler. "Give me the cat. She's finally getting jettisoned."
"No jettisoning."
Fowler stormed off to his cabin to sulk, leaving Monroe and Scoopy alone in the cockpit.
"Don't mind him," Monroe said. "He's just a bit of a grump. Probably best that I keep an eye on you for a while, though. Don't want Mr. I'm not cleaning the litter tray again kicking you out of the airlock when I'm not looking." "Really? You're that hungry? I'll tell you what. Let's go and celebrate the start of our journey home with a double pack of rations. How about that? I'm sure Commander Fowler won't mind cutting back for a few days to make up for it. Well, he did shout at you, after all." Monroe smiled. "Come on, Scoopy."
He got up, and Scoopy jumped down to the floor. Monroe walked through towards the kitchen, clicking his fingers, and the little black cat trotted after him.
I always enjoy reading the space-themed submissions we get at Cast of Wonders. I'm an astrophysicist after all. And it might surprise you, but I'm not a stickler for scientific accuracy across the board. Could something like this ever happen? Nope, not in a million years. But that's not the point. Science fiction allows us to share in the wonders of the solar system in many different ways. Sometimes the science inside the fiction is hard, and sometimes it's pure fluff. But so long as a story keeps just the right amount of internal consistency, I'm very, very forgiving on the whimsy. Plus, I have a small black cat of my own who has just been off on her own round of zoomies around the house. I wonder what she'd make of microgravity. Join us again soon for our Christmas special. We love bringing you the best audio fiction week after week, but we can't do it without your support. Right now, Escape Artists has the opportunity to receive $10,000 thanks to several generous supporters. Between now and December 31st, your support will have twice the impact. Every dollar you donate will be matched 1-to-1, helping us get closer to unlocking all $10,000 in the matching gift fund. That means if you donate $7, our new base subscription fee for ad-free episodes, it'll become a $14 gift. $25 becomes $50. $1,571 becomes $3,142, pleasantly but roughly approximating pi times 1,000. If you make a one-time gift, it will go twice as far today, but if you subscribe, you will have twice the impact for the rest of the year. Monthly donations ensure we can plan ahead with a reliable income, which means we can publish more original stories, devote more time to editorial excellence, plan for the future, and more. Whether you're a new subscriber or a dedicated fan, thank you. We're so grateful you're a part of this journey, and we couldn't do what we do without your incredible support. Thank you for helping us bring free and accessible speculative audio fiction to listeners around the globe. You can join the discussion on the EA Discord and visit us on Blue Sky at castofwonders.org. Come say hello. Cast of Wonders is brought to you by editor Catherine Inskip, assistant editors Alicia Caparasso and Amy Brennan, associate editors Rebecca Arn, Tanya Adelit, Kit Kaelstow, Cup Cobb, Adri Joy, Becca Miles, Ray O, Samuel Poots, Emma Smales, Denise Sudell, Ella Naval, Rin Yi and Angela Zazueta. Our audio producers are Jeremy Carter and Andrew Jack. Cast of Wonders is part of the Escape Artists Foundation, 501c3 non-profit, and this episode is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. That means you can download or listen to the episode on any device you like, but you can't change it or sell it. Our theme music is Appeal to Heavens by Alexei Nov, available from Promo DJ or his Facebook page. Thank you for listening.